Manonood din kayo ng podcast?
Kakahabi ko lang, bawal yung malakas na ringtone ng cellphone.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Filipino Freethinkers podcast that's also a video. I'm Red.
I'm Talia.
I'm Frank.
And today we're gonna try to answer a question that's on a lot of Filipinos' minds. And that is, should the politicians who are now accused of plunder suffer in jail? So what have been the common reactions that you have seen online?
I haven't seen anyone disagree. I mean, I haven't seen anyone say, oh, poor politicians, they shouldn't go to regular jail. Everyone so far in my newsfeed has been unanimous in saying that politicians should go to regular jails and not the sweets they've been given.
Okay, so what have the people in high school been saying?
I'm not in high school.
Okay.
Actually, they've been saying it's not that they should be given really bad rooms. It's that the normal rooms for other prisoners should be made better.
Okay, so if you haven't seen, here's a link to a comparison, or maybe we'll show a photo of a comparison of the regular rooms that that the regular Filipino citizen goes to, you know, the ones who are accused of, you know, even the light list of crimes, you know, stealing like an apple, I don't know, like just to survive, right? And compared with these politicians who've stolen like 10 billion is the amount that's been thrown around. And if you compare, like, there's just no fairness there. But are the people right in saying that they should suffer, like, more than the people who are locked up in prison right now?
I'm gonna disagree that any prisoner should suffer in jail. You see the presence of the more developed countries, for example, I think that was Norway, the pictures have been passed around, that even their worst criminals go to a very nice jail that puts our sweets to shame. They look like first-class hotels, and they're definitely better than a lot of Filipinos' homes. And these prisons are intended to keep the prisoners away from the common population, and another thing is that it gives them a comfortable life while they're trying to be corrected. And I think that's a sort of prison that prisoners deserve, because they also deserve some human rights regardless of what they've done.
So what you're saying is that by sending these plunderers, alleged plunderers, that's very important, alleged plunderers, to the same kind of prison, their rights will be violated.
What do you mean?
The usual prison.
And the usual prison, I think, violates a lot of human rights.
Yes.
And none of our prisoners in the Philippines should be subject to that. And first of all, those should at least be raised to the level that our politicians are given, and then after that, maybe raised a little higher. But it should not be as bad as it is right now.
You know, there's a very common saying that if you want things to change, if you want the situation to change, force politicians to live like the rest of us, like the rest of the people in the Philippines. Like, let them live in the flood-prone areas, in the places where, you know, it smells like trash because it's so near to a trash dump. And, you know, you can watch gradually or even rapidly the situation in that village or whatever will change. And maybe this is a good experience, you know, sending the politicians to prison, if they're sent to the same kinds of prisons, if they know that that's the kind of prison that they will receive, then things will rapidly change.
I think one point in this is that the mere fact that they stole so much from the country is the reason why not only is our educational system really shitty, it's also the reason why our prisons are so bad.
Good point.
So it could be just punishment that they're going to be made to suffer because they stole the money that would have gone to improving these prisons.
Yeah, but instead of reaping, you know, what they have sown, they will, you know, more. Yeah, they're being coddled. More money is being spent on making these better prisons.
Yes.
And maybe they're arguing, we know that a lot of senators and congressmen are going to be charged with plunder, so this is a worthwhile investment. But the point is that they should be experiencing what the rest of the Filipinos, regardless of the charge, will experience.
Right. Okay, I'm not saying that they should be given better accommodations than our common Filipino citizens who have not committed crimes. It's just that the state of our prison prisons
Yeah.
is really, really bad. And you're right when you say that if they went to the common prisons, then the state of the prisons would improve. And I think, yeah, that's what should happen. And even before that, possibly, look at our slums first.
Yeah.
And of course, people don't want their prisons to be better than the slums, because then they would just start committing crimes and go to prison, right? So, of course, we want to increase the state of our living conditions in the Philippines. And then the prison system, of course, should be improved. But it should not be such that it violates anyone's human rights.
Okay. These alleged crimes that these politicians committed, they're non-bailable because they're supposedly heinous crimes. They are heinous crimes.
Plunder.
They're plunder. It's, I think, more than 50 million. If it's more than 50 million, it's not just graft. It's already plunder.
Okay.
And that's a heinous crime. And the non-bailable part of it tells you that their rights aren't being, I mean, they don't have the right to even post bail. But for them to receive like this kind of treatment, it's kind of a contradiction to what the spirit of the law actually says. Like, worse crimes should remove more of your mobility, more of the rights that free citizens have. So it's just interesting. But do you think that, you know, even if, let's say, for the sake of this discussion, we know that they're guilty of the charges, and even more. They've stolen more than 10 billion. Do they deserve to be given like worse treatment than the average prisoner? Do you think that it would be ethical? You know, let's forget about the law for now, but would it be ethical to punish them more than what the law dictates?
I don't think so. I think the law should reflect our ethics, and if the law does not punish them to a degree that people are comfortable with, like they should be punished more, then the law should be changed. So I don't think people should work around the law to give what they think to be just punishment to any particular group of people, to lesser criminals, to greater criminals. So I don't think it is ethical to work around the laws that should reflect the country's ethics.
What do you think, Natalia?
Well, our law already provides for the different kinds of crimes. So assuming that, then we should already have the boundaries for really, really bad crimes like this.
Yeah,
so we shouldn't have to go around it, just like what Frank said.
Okay. And what's interesting is, like, for the people who do want them to suffer more than what they're supposed to, as dictated by law, this would give them special treatment in a negative way, you know? And that, I think, is the problem in the first place, the special treatment that they're getting. Period. Whether it's better or worse, it is special treatment. And if it's the law, it should see people in the same way. I mean, when people go through the judicial process, you know, when they're prosecuted, when they're sent to jail, the justice should be blind. It shouldn't matter if you're just a pickpocket or a plunderer. It shouldn't matter. You should be treated the same way. I heard that in Japan. A friend of mine told me that when a politician is caught in the act of graft and corruption or even plunder, like a regular policeman will go to fetch him. No fuss, just a regular policeman, and
no camera crew,
no big deal.
The president.
No big deal. It's a crime, and you're arrested just like everyone else. And another thing about this special treatment, it's this kind of hierarchies that exist in our country that allows these politicians to continue doing these things behind our backs. They don't get checked. They don't get scrutinized as much because of their status. Their senators and all of the rest of the people who should be auditing them aren't doing their jobs well because they're accorded that kind of special treatment. And it's this special treatment that has to end if we are going to start to address the problem of graft and corruption.
If anything, I'm sure that a lot of people have their own reasons for wanting them to suffer more. And I think one reason is they think that these people have done so much more than what they're being accused of. Given that assumption that these people are thinking this way, I think it's just that we have to start persecuting them for all of the other things that have gone unpunished.
Prosecuting.
So far. Prosecuting. Similar words, same day.
Okay.
You know, one is obsolete.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that's what we should do.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I think
we should persecute.
we should prosecute. I think a lot of the problems here, for example, is that we have a law
Yeah.
that states the punishment for a particular set of crimes, and
Yeah.
people feel that's not enough, and you want to punish them more. When our more common problem here is that we are not catching criminals as often as we should.
Yeah.
So, for example, I just heard that the fine for jaywalking is being increased.
Yes.
When we people are just not catching
Yes.
jaywalkers. So,
Yes.
what's the point of that, right?
Okay, so implement the laws that we already have.
Right.
I mean, that's a problem here. Like, laws aren't being followed. The proper punishments, the proper treatments aren't being followed. So we should just, check the law. That's what we paid them for.
Right.
Right.
And why are we building new prison cells? I mean, we should be building prison cells when our prisons are full, not when we have high profile prisoners.
Yes.
Yeah.
So-
And these are like how many? 3 people who are
Right,
there?
so far.
3 senators so
Yeah.
far. I'm sure there are 100 or so.
Yeah, the law doesn't say that if you catch a plunderer or accused plunderer, build a prison for them and then put them there. It says put them in prison, and we have prisons.
I think-
as full as they are, that's where regular criminals go.
I think what politicians are doing is, I might be the next one.
Oh, yeah, let's build some nicer
know.
prisons.
Yeah. It could be me. Like, I'm part of this system. Like, corruption is so systemic that I have a finger in it. So it might be me who's next, and I'm just thinking of the future when I'm building nice places, because it could be me in there. That's what they're thinking.
Right.
But they're not thinking it could be me in those regular prisons, and that's a problem. And I think that we should definitely be fair, regardless of whether they're guilty or not. Again, there's a presumption of innocence. That too is a right, so we're not really prejudging them. But even for people who are going to stand trial, there are laws and we should follow those.
So next thing we know, the places with the most corrupt officials will have the nicest prisons. They'll have air conditioning and iPads.
Okay. And with that, any other?
No,
final points?
that's about it. I also hear that a lot of police officials are saying that they are not being given special treatment, which is very odd because it's very obvious
Yeah.
that if they're not sleeping right beside the next prisoner, then they are being given special treatment. So yeah, just own up to it.
Okay.
Change that.
If you have other things in mind for these alleged plunderers, tell us at the meetup that we are having at the SM Aura. It's going to be the Tweet Up Manila Social Media Day. We'll have a booth there. We'll have a meetup. We'll have talks. It's going to be fun. And see you next time.